I want to create a sign that's going to go on each of these posts. And I want to put a hexagonal pattern down here. And then I want to look at using a curve modifier on this and actually get it to bend, and we'll see how it's starting to look as an actual sort of curved racetrack. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is work on the sign. I'm going to bring in a plane. I'm going to rotate X 90 and look from the side and scale it down. And it's going to go right in there. It's going to be relatively small. Something like this. Let's see what that's like over here. I'm going to go back just that. Okay. And I want it to be small enough so that it can sort of rotate. I'm going to rotate it around a little bit. All right, just a small sign there, fitting in there. I'll get it as big as I can. All right, something like that. All right, one for vertex selection. I'm going to curve this. Shift Control B, pull. There's 2 vertices. I'll go for just 3, like that. And I think I'll give this a little bit of thickness by myself. I'll just pull it out a little bit. So it's like a piece of metal. That's like that. And I've got that face selected. And I'll select that face. And Control B, give it a small bevel. And then I'm going to select this face. I'm going to press I to inset. Pull it in. I to inset again. And I'm going to pull it into about there because I want a black line around it. And that's probably good enough. Let me just make sure it's facing the right way. And that is going to be my sign. Okay, I'm going to just slash to focus on that. Let's go over to the editing, UV editing. I'll focus just on the sign there. Now what I may do is I may try to use, let's see, yeah, I can get it there. I may try to use cube projection on that. I'm going to select and then I'm going to pack. But the face that I really care about is this one, and maybe that edge as well. So just really all of that. So I'm going to try to scale that up. The back side, okay, actually let me grab this stuff, Control plus, and then just go Control I. That's really everything else can be pretty small in comparison to this stuff. So let me take that and just move that out of the way. I'm going to take that and rotate 90. Let's see if I can just push it down in this corner. Take this stuff, bring it back in, and see if we can get everybody to fit. I think we can, and that is probably going to be okay for what I want to do. So I'm going to export that as an FBX. Alright, so I brought that into its own project here. So I'm going to change this to say sign. And let's bake the mesh maps. I'll do this at 2K. Uncheck ID and thickness. Alright, we're going to add anti-aliasing. And to create this, we're going to use not metal really, more like plastic. So I'm in there, so let's take this plastic gloss. What's this one? Maybe that's a good one. Yeah, it's already got some well, no, I don't think I like that one. I'm just going to go with this one. And I'm going to change the basic color to sort of an off-white for a side. Maybe not quite so shiny, just something like this. And I will add my usual filter for a lot of these things. This matte finish rough. But I think I'll bring down the scale and the intensity. And it's roughly going to be like that. Put a bit of dirt on it later. So that's our base layer. I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to use just color. So I'll click color, switch it to almost a black color. I'll add a black mask, and I'll go to my polygon fill, And I'm going to choose the 21 here, and actually it's the other side that I need to be working on. All right, and I'm just going to start selecting this area here for the outline of the sign. It's going to be very simple, but hopefully it'll just add to the scene. Okay, that might still be too shiny, we'll see. Okay. Good, so we've got that, and that's our outline. And the next thing I want to do is I want to put an arrow of some sort inside there, so I'll use a fill, and we'll use black again, a black mask and a paint. And let's come to my alphas and search for arrow. And really, I think the best arrow is just using the same one. I mean, you can use anything that you like and that you think would look good. The thing you have to remember is I'm going to be joining this to the main arrayed unit and mirroring it. So if you wanted to put like a speed limit or something, the mirrored one would be backwards. So I'm just going to use something that works. I'll bring the size up to maybe 130. And I'm going to do that. And then I'll do one more alpha kind of layer. In fact, let's not do that. Let's just duplicate this. Duplicate this layer. We'll clear the paint layer. But here I want color. And I want it to be dark. And height. I'll just drop the height down a little bit. And I'll create a new paint layer. And I'm going to search my alphas for bolt. Now, I happen to have this screw or whatever. You could use something else if you've got it. And I'm going to put that kind of right there so that will look like it's sort of joined to the post. Okay. Final layer, I'm going to put some dirt. Now, you put dust and all kinds of stuff if you want, but I don't think I'm going to bother. We'll do that. Sort of a dark brown. Black mask. Let's try the generator and we'll see how nice it works for us. If it works good enough. That. Maybe the scale, change the scale. Now this is going to be repeated again and again. So I don't really want anything too obvious, I guess. Maybe I'll just bring that down a bit, just a little bit. You can, erase some of the letter, grunge it up, but it's going to look a little weird being repeated so much. So I'm going to go with that. I think that's all I need. And let's export this. So I will use just a PBR roughness template I've got. We'll put it in there. Okay, sign. Over to the shading now. There it is. We'll create the material. We'll call it sign. Shift Control T and Textures Row Video. Sign right there. Okay. So I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. And I'm going to have it sort of backing onto there. You're never going to get in that close, so if it's a little bit out, that's okay. Because when this curves, sometimes it can do weird things. So I've got that there, and I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and maybe even move it out, and just sort of position it so that I think it looks okay to the driver. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put one there and put one there. A little repetitive, but that's all right. All right, I'm going to do this here. Do it in edit mode, Shift D to duplicate, drag it down. That's probably okay. We'll have to see. We may have to adjust them a little bit when we put the curve on. Okay. So I like that, and so what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to now we'll go ahead and we'll join these. So that's the sign material. I'm going to select there, Control J, and now you can see I've got those materials. Let's have a look at the mirror. Okay, so they're on both sides going in that direction. Someone was asking me if it's supposed to go in two different directions. And as you can see, it's propagated along, and you can also see where I've split these. So I hope that still looks okay. All right. So we got the sign in there, good. The next thing I want to do is work on something here. So what I'm going to do is just come over here and open up what we had before. All right, doesn't have the signs on, but that's fine. All right, so what I want to do is I want to be working on the road video material, and just right above the hazard I'm going to create a fill layer, and it's going to be color, and I will add a black mask, and let's work on where it's going to go. So I'm going to go into orthographic and symmetry. So whatever I do here, it'll be mirrored up there. And I'm just going to come back here, and in my alphas I'm going to search for square, and I want that usual square I was using. There it is. And I'll press tab to go into full screen, scale this down. Let's just give this a test. Actually, just before we do, I'm actually going to be I guess I can do it right here. I just want to have a look at this and make sure. See spacing, I want spacing off. I don't want any jitter or anything. All right, let's see. That's actually not bad right there, I think. And that'll go up to the top. Yeah, that's going to be what I want. All right, so I've created a mask area. Okay, we can get rid of this, and we can also go back to perspective so we have a more sort of interesting view of this. The one thing I want to do, I take it back, is I want to just chop the end a little bit. So let's just go here, and I'm going to press X, so instead of painting I'm cutting away, and do something like that. Now how far did I go? That's actually okay. That should be fine. All right, turn that off, come back here. All right, so what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to put a hexagonal pattern. If I do it right under here with a fill, it's going to go everywhere. So I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to drag this into the folder, and I'm going to create a black mask, and I'm just going to copy this mask. Copy mask, right click, and paste into mask. So the mask is there on the folder level. Now take this mask and add a fill. Very simple. Search for hexagon, and I'm going to use this one here. Am I? I believe so. All right, so you see some blurriness there. Just bring the balance up. Just right away, I'm going to bring the contrast, the tiling up, and the contrast. And now I'm going to invert this, and then I'm just going to play with these values to sharpen it up. And that's actually what I'm going for. Now, you could tile this. If I try to, it just may be a little bit too small and be a little bit too similar to this. You could change the color if you want. I had thought about changing this to an orangey color. We could look at that. Let's just actually name the folder here as hexagons. So if I wanted to, I could click here and sort of sample that. We could let's try it and see what that looks like. Let's save that, and let's export this again. Should remember all the settings. I want the road video. I don't need to export the metal again. Okay. To the shading tab, make sure you're on the right material. N and Node Wrangler, and choose reload. And there it is. Let's have a look here. So I'm just doing this because somebody asked me if I would create that pattern, and I thought it might kind of look neat anyhow. I want to try the white and see if I prefer that better. So I'm just going to go over here, make it nice and clean, and save that and just export that. I think that's probably what I'm going to end up going for, but I mean, it's personal choice. And reload. And really, I think because I've got the orange here and the orange here, and I'm not much of an artist, whatever, but I just feel I like that. Does it look okay cut off here as opposed to going closer? Well, you've got a little bit of space here, a little bit of space. I think it looks kind of almost like a decal on there. I think it looks okay. All right, and if we look at it here, you know. Now, I have thought about putting something else on here, some other graphics. I have thought about erasing this one, and this one, having less arrows. So there are things that you might want to touch up, but at any rate, this is what we have. All right, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to turn off the array for the moment. And my 3D cursor is right there. I'm going to look down from the top, and I'm going to bring in a curve path. And I've got vertex right there. So if I might scale this a bit, and I might take this and just sort of snap it to the end. And I'm going to take a couple of these, pull them out like this, maybe spread that out a bit. And then I'm just going to, I think I'll look, let's see, from the side, maybe we'll just make it go up, a gentle curve, extrude it out this way for a bit, look from the top, extrude this way. I'm not going to do too much really, and let's make sure it's just long enough. And maybe I'll look from here and I'll just come back down a little bit, like just like that, because again I'm going for just a standard render. So there's my curve, and we'll see what it's like. I'm going to select this, turn my array back on, and this may not be big enough actually. So what I may do is grab all of these and just lengthen some of this out. Of course it's going to wrap around, but take that. Let's just see what that does. That might be too weird of a curve now that I think about it. So let me come back to this. All right, anyways, let's just see what it's doing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add a curve modifier, and with the eyedropper I'm going to select my curve, and we have this. Come back to my curve, and I think I'm going to just do some adjusting on this thing, and I may not like some of this. There is some more stuff I'm going to show you in a bit. I think I will extend this back like that. Now, I think I'm actually going to go back in and make it a little bit higher. Let's do this first. All right, so as you can see, it's sort of tilting. So what I'm going to do in order to tilt this the way I want is in edit mode, I'm going to select a point on my curve and press Control T, and then just move my mouse and I can tilt it the way that I want to. I can select these, Control T, and I can sort of straighten it out the way that I want it to be. Okay, how are my signs holding up? Yeah. You know, let's say you did it there and that part was cut off. Admittedly, it looks like it's floating in the sky, but you could do something like this. You know, maybe where you don't see that. So there's just a little bit more that I want to model for this. I'm thinking about putting an arch-like thing, and I'll decide if I want what I want this to do. Maybe there could be an obstacle that goes around like a mountain or something. I certainly wouldn't like this, you know, in a render. But like I said again, I may be trying to do something, and I may curve this in a way that I see the road maybe come down and I don't see underneath it. I'm not sure. I'll work on that a little bit later on. But this is what it's turning out to be so far. All right, so I hope you'll come on back for the next video. That'll probably be the last video in the series. All right, take care.